This week we're back in Brazil and flying LATAM, a brand new airline on the channel, as we fly over to Santiago in Chile. We snag a 787 Dreamliner for this 4-hour journey, take in the incredible views as we fly over the Andes. Oh, and battle with 3 different departure times. Don't worry, we got there in the end though.
Bom dia.
Look at that for a native. Welcome to this week's video. We're currently in Ibirapuera Park in central São Paulo, and as much as my husband did Spanish at school, I certainly can't speak any Portuguese, and he's still a little bit ropey, but far better than I am. But if I've got that pronunciation wrong, do feel free to get at me in the comments and roast me, because my Portuguese is nearly non-existent. But where are we flying to this week? Well, we're off to Santiago in Chile with LATAM Airlines aboard their Boeing 787-9 morning departure, and it was quite an early departure. We were set to fly around 7 a.m, but as we landed into São Paulo yesterday, we got a little text on WhatsApp and an email, so you can't knock their communication, to tell us that we'd be going nearly 2 hours late. And for once, we're actually quite happy for a delay, because it means the husband and I get a bit of a lie-in in the morning. So we've got the rest of today exploring São Paulo. We're going to go for a nice little steak dinner, of course. We're going to eat well, drink well, and enjoy the evening. And then tomorrow you'll be joining us on LATAM Airlines 787-9 across to Santiago in Chile. Today our journey starts with an Uber across to São Paulo's international airport, and LATAM's long-haul departures tend to leave from Terminal 3. Their check-in area is located in Zone F, and it's all self-service. You tag your bags yourself and then have the gloriously fun task of scanning and checking them in. It was fairly straightforward, to be honest with you, and actually quite fun. Let's just hope they make it there. So we are all in São Paulo's International Airport, GRU, as it's more commonly called, GRU, and if you are getting here in the morning for a morning flight, just make sure you leave yourself a little bit of extra time, because the roads are really congested, certainly today anyway, around the airport, so that seems to be quite a common occurrence. So it's not delayed us in any way though, because LATAM have given us a whole range of different times. Originally we were due to depart at 7:15. I'm now going to bring the husband in, because he knows these times are far better than I do. Normally I'm very good at this kind of thing, but he's got an intrinsic memory and seems to have recounted all the different times we've been given, and there's a lot.
Yeah, according to the original one, the boarding closed at 6:45. We've also had options on the digital boarding pass for boarding at 10:10 and 11:15, with departure times of 9:15, 9:30 and 9:45, all popping up at various points. We're going with the bag tag scanner thing, which said to get to gate 323 by 8:35, and that'll be when it's boarding. But then we've gone and seen the sign, the big digital all a list of flight sign, which said it's boarding at 9:05 now. So at some point this morning we're going to Santiago.
Nobody knows when or how, but yeah, we are going. We're certainly going. We just don't know, and we don't know if this is going to turn into one of those kind of trips where it just gets more and more delayed. Now the flight comes in from Madrid, and it landed here at 5:05 this morning on time, so we can't really work out why there's a delay. I don't know if it's something technical or cargo related, or if they've got a little bit of maintenance to do, or if they're swapping the aircraft out. I really don't know. But all we know is we're in, we're checked in, and we're good to go. So let's see what happens on this journey across to Santiago, Chile. Nobody can knock LATAM's communication, just the fact that they've got a very whole host and range of different times, which can get a little bit confusing. But like my husband said, we're going to go for the one that's on the printed bag tag receipt, and just go for that. Get there a little bit earlier and see what happens. Come along for the ride, we hope. For us, it was then time to head through to departures and find the nominated Priority Pass Lounge, which today is the Espaço Banco Safra Lounge, located just upstairs after security. It's quite a large open-plan space, so there was no issue in finding a seat. Here we are in the Lounge Banco Safra inside São Paulo's Terminal 3, and yeah, it's absolutely huge and quite a nice lounge, to be fair. Plenty of space, certainly not overcrowded. It's just a shame we don't have too long in here. We've got about 10 minutes because we were going to get down to the gate like my husband said, for that time that was printed on the checked bag ticket. We've got in here and the boards now all say go to gate, so we're literally having a small bite to eat very, very quickly. Quick refreshing drink of some grape juice, and then we're going to run down to the gate and get on board this flight. Now, we do think it's probably a ploy to get you there earlier, but we don't want to take the risk today, so we're going to head down to the gate in about 5 minutes, and I'll see you there. If there's a TV on in Brazil, you can bet your bottom dollar it'll be showing some form of football. I do love the passion they have for the game here. Inside the lounge there's an open bar, along with white and rosé wines on ice, and a selection of red wines too. There was fresh grape and orange juice available as well, alongside a selection of Chow Lao teas, an espresso machine, and a Nescafe coffee machine, offering all the usual options including Nescau hot chocolate. The lounge offers complimentary newspapers and magazines, not to mention a wide variety of seating areas and even a spa if you fancy a quick massage during your time here. There's also toilets and showers if you need to freshen up, a departure board, and this help yourself acai bowl freezer where you can put together your own little breakfast pot, a nice touch. Onto the hot food, and this included a selection of different hot items, including firstly a shredded meat in sauce, beef, and actually, despite how it looked, it was quite tasty. There were also scrambled eggs, and I think these might win the award for the most overcooked scrambled eggs I've ever seen. And finally, there was a bowl of buttery mashed cassava, interesting to say the least. There was a cheese platter, and a selection of meats, accompanied by a range of small sandwiches, coconut honeymoon cakes, and raspberry panna cottas. There was also chocolate cookies, tapioca and passion fruit cakes, and finally, traditional brigadeiro bites too. There was also a selection of grab-and-go items ranging from chicken croquetas to traditional Brazilian cheese breads. Finally, there were yogurts, yogurt drinks, and smoothies available as well. We then headed to the gate with the hope that the departure screen in the lounge was correct and that the flight wasn't further delayed, or worse still, had already departed without us. Fortunately, upon arrival at gate 323, we weren't disappointed. Boarding was to commence shortly, and flying us over to Santiago today was this Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, which was delivered to LATAM in May of 2016, making it over 10 years old. So we are now at the gate 323 over to Santiago, and nobody speaks English here, so we're now, getting the translator app out and trying to work out when we board. So we got here down for that time, which was 8:35, which was the one printed on the bag tags and showed on the screen. Then it said go to gate, so we came down here from the Banco Safra lounge. We got here and it says 9:45 Santiago on the screen, with a 9:05 boarding time. So I've just asked them when we're boarding, and they've said in 15 minutes time, which puts us at about 8:45 or 8:50, another new time. So the only thing we know is we're stood in the right place, we can see the plane, and there are staff here. So I suppose all of those things add up to a positive experience, but I've never had a flight where I've had 9 or 10 different times of boarding gates, and it's been an interesting one for sure. But we've made it. Or so we thought, just a little bit more boarding not boarding to endure, and then suddenly the heavens opened. So much so in fact that water was leaking into the air bridge. I've never seen this before. So all aboard in seat 12A on this 787-9 LATAM Dreamliner over to Santiago. Turns out none of those times were correct, and we waited another 25 minutes to board, but who cares? We're now away. It's certainly been a hectic one, but yeah. Communication great from LATAM to let us know about the delay. Communication of the delay and the times really quite poor, but let's get settled into LATAM Plus's Exclusivo seat on row 12, which is a very forward row of economy on this Dreamliner. I'll get settled in and take on a full seat tour, as always. And boy, we were off to a good start. The seat is very padded and extremely comfortable, and seemed to feel quite premium. On our seats, waiting for us, were a rather flimsy pillow, but this was contrasted with a very good quality LATAM branded economy blanket. There were 90s style PC headphones, this was a throwback, overhead bins exclusively for the use of us, an adjustable headrest which again was very comfortable, an IFE screen located in the armrest of the seat with a separate remote to the side. There was also in-seat AC power as well as USB-A charging facilities, a literature storage pocket, and those signature 787 Dreamliner dimmable windows. All in all, a positive start. I then nipped to the back of the aircraft, which was nearly completely empty, but at least it gives you an idea of the exit rows down there too. So all up in the climb now out of São Paulo Guarulhos International Airport. My Portuguese coming into play there, not. So yeah, we eventually departed around 10:05. So yeah, we got there eventually, but certainly not one of the times that was listed on the screen. So, but it is what it is. We're in the air now, looking forward to kicking back. I must say that the initial impressions of LATAM's seat are pretty decent, to be fair. This LATAM Plus Exclusivo seat is really comfortable, really padded, very supportive. The seatbelt signs have just gone off, so I'll let you know what, if anything, comes next. So I must have dozed off. The seat is extremely comfortable. It is really quite a nice seat, very, very padded and soft, that kind of soft material that really just feels quite nice. Some seats, you know, those airlines that go for leather seats, although they have their place in the industry, mainly in premium cabins, I think when you've got a longish flight, because you've got to remember these Dreamliners are used on LATAM's very long haul destinations as well, you want something that's padded, that's comfortable, with the seat pan that articulates, so it gives you that more kind of lumbar support in the back. It's a good seat, it's a really good seat, it's really comfortable. So yeah, really enjoying my time aboard LATAM, but did not account on getting a cheeky 40 weeks. So that's the meal service concluded, and you know what, LATAM have really, really blown me away. It was outstanding. You know, I didn't really expect much, to be honest with you, but the crew came through speaking English, Portuguese and Spanish, so super helpful for us, because we didn't know if our rusty Spanish or even rustier Portuguese would be put to the test. Basically non-existent, to be fair, but the husband does speak a little modicum of Spanish, which is, you know, helpful, but I'm certainly more of the German, Dutch ilk when it comes to languages. But really nice crew, really friendly, and there was 2 options of hot meals on board today's flight, and they were very similar to sort of the second meal service you'd get on the long-haul international flight, that kind of snack service, but it was done really well. So there was a meat option and a vegetarian option. Obviously went for one of each to show you both. So the husband went for the meat option. That was a ham and cheese panini, really nice, crispy bread, piping hot, and lots of melty cheese. He said it was really tasty. Then I went for the vegetarian option, which was tomato and cheese with courgette inside, or pickle, and it was really tasty as well. It really was a fantastic panini, a great sandwich, full of flavour. Both sandwiches came with 2 desserts. One to the left of the container that the panini was heated in was a warm orange and vanilla style cake, and again, really nice moist cake, you know, impressive really. And there was also a kind of sort of elongated fruit salad carton / box, which was full of fruit. There was grapes, watermelon, and honeydew melon as well, and it was all brought up to temperature. It was still chilled as a fruit salad, but not frozen like you get on some airlines. So, you know what? Props to LATAM here, because it was a really good service. Now, there was no alcoholic drinks being served today. It was just soft drinks, tea, coffee, juices and water. So we went for a peach juice each, which was delicious. In fact, that's probably gone down as my new favourite juice. It really was tasty. Might have slightly overtaken that Finnair blueberry juice. And the husband also got a still water as well. So, you know what, LATAM, for a flight of this length, 3 hours 15 minutes, I take my hat off to you, because it was really outstanding. It was then time to check the toilets, which came with a slight defect, and that was that the lid just wouldn't stay upright, no matter what you did. They were, however, very tidy, with this lemon verbena foaming hand soap. This smelled great, and a good level of cleanliness overall. The LATAM IFE was available from gate to gate for all other seats, and for us on the exit rows and the bulkheads, this was available after the seatbelt sign was de-illuminated. There were a variety of films available on demand, and the screen responded pretty well with minimal lag. There were also a variety of TV shows, a selection of music, some reading materials, and of course the traditional moving map. The cabin crew then rather oddly decided to dim the cabin lights on a day flight. It was only mid-morning and this really threw us off. But nevertheless, I grabbed that super comfortable blanket and snagged another cheeky nap. This really is a hard life. So that's pretty much it for this LATAM flight. We've got about 45 minutes to go before we touch down into Santiago de Chile, and really looking forward to visiting Chile. It's been pretty much the top of my to-go-to list for some time now, so I'm really glad to be ticking it off. But LATAM have been really exceptionally good, and you've got to remember that these routes between Sao Paulo and Santiago are operated on a variety of narrow and wide-body aircraft. But my advice to you is, if you can get yourself on one that's on the 787 or the 777, definitely do so. Just that little bit more space, that little bit more comfort and room to move around. This flight is probably about 30% full, so there's been plenty of, availability to walk around. People have gone to whole rows in economy and lay their head down. The only strange thing, and it's not necessarily a negative, it's just something that I necessarily wouldn't do if I was in charge of the cabin, is the fact that these windows have been stuck on 50% dim for the past hour. Talk about knocking your circadian rhythm out, but it is what it is. I think a lot of people on this flight have wanted to get a bit of sleep, so that's fair. But yeah, LATAM have really impressed me. Great food, really warm, hospitable service. I'd like to say on time, but sadly not on this occasion. And the only thing that could have been better is, as good as the communication was about the delay, it was the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different times that we had, and nobody kind of seemed to be able to tie that down to one particular time, so it was a little confusing, but we got there in the end. So from about 35,000 feet before we start our descent into Chile, a big thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Well, turns out that wasn't the end of this video this week, so we're about to cross the Andes in about 6 to 7 minutes, and as a precaution, the seatbelt signs have gone on. The crew seem to be taking it quite seriously, making sure that people are strapped in, so I'm assuming it might get a little turbulent, but we can see lots of lovely mountains on the way, and I must admit the view is pretty spectacular, so enjoy it, soak it up, take it in. I'll do my very best to cover what happens next, but yeah, the views are pretty spectacular for sure. It's funny how a journey can feel quite messy on the ground and completely different in the air. Because once I stepped on board LATAM, everything just settled. The service felt natural and unforced, the food was genuinely enjoyable, the entertainment did its job, but more than anything, it was the space. A Widebody 787-9 on a flight of this length really does make the difference, and it's a difference you notice straight away. And in these exclusive O Plus seats with the extra legroom and the way they're positioned, it felt considered, like this is exactly how short-haul flying should be done. Getting there though, that's where things unravel just a little bit. Delays happen, that's part of travel, but the constant changes and lack of clear communication made it harder than it needed to be. LATAM might not get everything right on the ground, but up here where it counts, they really do deliver. Now feels like the perfect moment to ask, if you're enjoying the adventures so far, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and come along for the ride with a growing community of fellow travellers.